Good morning, everyone. For Telesur, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin in Brazil, where only 2 days remain until over 100 million people head to the polls to choose the next president of Latin America's largest country. Incumbent President Dilma Rousseff appears to be making gains over her business-friendly rival Aécio Neves. Two new polls show Rousseff leading by 6 to 8 points. That is a significant change from weeks ago when the race was neck and neck. It appears Rousseff has gained ground by reminding voters of rising wages and expanding social programs. She has also characterized Neves as a threat, reminding voters that his party oversaw higher unemployment and inflation in the past. And to Mexico we go, where the governor of the Mexican state of Guerrero has bowed to pressure and will take a leave of absence. Aguirre has faced sustained criticism since the disappearance of 43 students, shone a light on police brutality and political corruption in Mexico.
He decidido solicitar licencia al honorable Congreso del Estado.
I have decided to apply for leave from the Honourable State Congress. It will be this Honourable Congress which is responsible for deciding who will be the citizen of Guerrero who will head this effort in the coming months.
O el guerrerense que debe de encabezar este esfuerzo en los próximos meses.
Indignation and fury continues throughout Mexico as the authorities have yet to find the missing students. Nationwide protests are ongoing. For the latest, here's our correspondent Clayton Kahn.
As widespread protests continue to grow and students hold their second 48-hour strike, intellectuals and activists express deep concern that the Ayotzinapa case will have wider implications.
We are in a national emergency and confronting a social explosion. We are in a very, very dangerous and delicate situation.
Muy delicada, muy peligrosa.
Prominent human rights defender Father Alejandro Solalinde says witnesses told him that the disappeared students were executed. He made an official declaration in a meeting with Mexico's Attorney General.
80% de lo que yo ya había manifestado y que le entregué.
80% of what I declared and have said was confirmed by the Attorney General. The rest is information that he didn't have.
Es una información que él no lo tenía.
As the one-month date approaches since the students were attacked and kidnapped by police in the Guerrero state town of Iguala, Mexico's president now begins to express sympathy with a country that is growing ever indignant.
Créanme que el presidente de la República hace suyo.
Believe me, this President of the Republic is presenting this feeling of indignation, rejection and consternation that has been provoked by the disappearance of 43 youth.
However, as tens of thousands take streets throughout Mexico, official messages are received with doubt and suspicion.
It's a joke how they have handled the information in terms of their discourse, and it's inconceivable that they have not found the students. It is evident that they already know where they are, but they don't want to disclose that.
This is one more night of the missing, one more night of widespread social rage, and one more night of the demands for justice. Clayton Kahn, Telesur, Mexico City.
The two leading candidates for president in Uruguay held final campaign rallies on Thursday before the country heads to the polls on Sunday. Broad Front candidate Tabaré Vázquez is hoping to ride the wave of success of current president and party colleague Pepe Mujica. Vázquez previously served as president from 2005 to 2010. He oversaw an expansion of social programs. Though Vázquez leads in the polls, both main candidates look set to miss the absolute majority needed for a first-round victory, and a November 30th runoff is likely. In a live address to the nation Thursday, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro announced the discovery of warehouses in different parts of the country packed with medical equipment and food. Maduro calls it the latest example of hoarding carried out by businessmen and wealthy opponents who are seeking to increase prices to reap enormous profits. Maduro also says the motives of the hoarders are political and an attempt to sabotage the economy and bring down the government. During his address, Maduro promised new policies to keep prices under control.
Through a decree, from the 1st of November, there will come into effect a maximum price by which goods can be sold to the public. What we call the installation of fair price for the people of all products, and from 1st of November.
And staying with Venezuela, the government has hit back at remarks made by Spanish President Mariano Rajoy, criticizing Venezuela's judicial system and what he called a lack of freedom to protest. Rajoy's remarks came after a meeting with Lilian Tintori. She's the wife of extreme right-wing opposition leader Leopoldo Lopez. Through a statement released late Thursday, Venezuela's foreign ministry said that Rajoy's declarations were, quote, interventionist, irresponsible, and disrespectful. It goes on to call the remarks false statements that sought, quote, to encourage and promote a political agenda to destabilize our country, end quote. It added that this, quote, violates the principles of non-interference and respect for sovereignty, end quote. Venezuelan government officials note that Rajoy's party supported the 2002 attempted coup in Venezuela. And to the United States, the Pentagon has announced that its coalition to defeat the Islamic State has so far dropped 1,700 bombs on Syria and Iraq. Despite the bombing campaign, the Islamic State continues as a threat in both countries. Meanwhile, with very heavy fighting ongoing in the Syrian town of Kobani, Iraqi Kurds announced that they will soon send backup forces equipped with heavy weapons to join the fight against the Islamic State. A 40-day resistance led by Syrian Kurdish fighters has prevented Islamic State from taking the strategic town that would give it control of the Syrian-Turkish border. Around 200 fighters will soon enter via Turkey, which after weeks of pressure finally allowed the move. European Union leaders have struck a deal to cut carbon emissions by 2030. The 28-nation bloc agreed to cut emissions by at least 40% from 1990 levels. Europe's leaders labeled the plan a new global standard ahead of next year's UN climate talks. By that time, a deal must be reached to replace the Kyoto Protocol. But critics warned that it falls far too short of what the EU, as one of the world's richest regions, should do to pull its weight against climate change. They also attacked the softening of renewable energy targets. As the United States gets set for midterm elections on November 4th, polls show most young voters are uninterested. Here's our correspondent Alexandra Hall.
Young voters. They got Barack Obama elected in 2008 and re-elected in 2012, but studies show that tens of millions fail to even register during midterm elections, and it's not for lack of interest.
If my mom sends me the voting slip from Vermont, and if I receive that, then I will vote, but if I don't, I won't vote, because if I vote here, it's quite likely I could lose financial aid.
Jesse Gurney is a 20-year-old communications student from Vermont. Like many college students, how he votes changed once he moved away to school.
When young people are asked why they didn't vote in 2010, very few of the responses were voting's not important or I don't care. A lot of the things were like I missed an important deadline, I didn't have transportation to the polls.
Although more than 20% don't identify with the two-party system, young voters often sway Democrat, meaning serious consequences for politicians who don't work for their vote.
The millennial generation is going to be the largest generation, and over the next 5 years, they're all going to age into voting age. So I think that politicians that don't take them seriously are going to regret it.
As soon as this November, when young voter participation, or lack thereof, could determine which party controls Congress. According to a Harvard University Institute of Politics poll, less than 1 in 4 potential voters under the age of 30 definitely plan to participate in midterm elections this year. Reporting from Washington, I'm Alexandra Hall for Telesur.
Thanks to Alexandra. We end today with a look at sports, and we're going to go to, do we have it? Actually, we're just going to end right there for today. We have plenty more on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Cody Weddle. Have a great day.